What is up, Corporate Misfits? Welcome to the Corporate Misfit Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Darrington, founder of the Corporate Misfit Club and business strategist for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start, launch, and grow their business. On today's strategy session, we are chatting with Sarah Gutierrez. She helps retail entrepreneurs build profitable businesses. She also creates data-driven strategies that empower retail entrepreneurs to achieve their financial goals through informed product inventory and distribution decisions. Sarah has over 15 years of experience building profitable, informed, and efficient businesses across multiple categories, including apparel, jewelry, home goods, outdoor, sporting equipment, and wine bottles. Now, if you are not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the Corporate Misfit Podcast so that you can be notified of upcoming podcast episodes and also can help others who are looking to start, launch, and grow their business find this podcast channel. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in.
You're listening to the Corporate Misfit Podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Sarah, I am so excited to have you on the Corporate Misfit Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Sarah, before we get started though, can you share with us how you became a corporate misfit?
The short answer is I knew that the corporate world was not going to continue to be right for me after I had a baby. So I had worked in management consulting, in corporate retail for years. That was my background. And then I had my first baby, and a week before I was supposed to go back to my job, I had a little bit of a freak out and decided that I could not do the commute and the long hours and the limited vacation, that there was this person that I wanted to spend so much more time with. And so I needed to find something different, another way, to have a career and to make money.
I absolutely love it. So many people are looking to find a way to work from home and be able to be around their family and make money doing it. So I'm so happy you found a way that really works well for you and your family. Now, did you have any background in the world of financials or retail before you got started into retail consulting?
I did. I kind of had a range of experience. First, I grew up in a family of amazing shoppers. So I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and my sisters and I could navigate to probably every mall within 2 hours, by the time we could drive ourselves at 16. So fueled by kind of that love of retail, I started working at retail stores in college and even continued to work part-time in retail after I got my first, real job out of college, because I just liked the connection you made with the customers. I liked the product. I just liked the whole feel of it. And then I learned about the corporate retail side, the planning of it. And I went into management consulting, and we worked specifically with retail companies. So we'd go in and we would help do their planning process, their merchandising, their distribution. So I got to see how these big retail companies worked kind of from the back end and the strategic decisions that they were making. The downside of management consulting is you are on the road every single week. So I would fly out on Monday and fly home on Friday, do my laundry and do it again. So after a few years of doing that, I decided to switch to the corporate retail side. And because I had this background, I knew that planning was where I wanted to go. So I started working for a corporate retailer in San Francisco as their planner or inventory manager for women's apparel. So I did that for years and moved up from being the planner to being the manager. And so really had this understanding of reporting and metrics and what they needed and what numbers they were looking at to make their decisions. So I took that, and then, like I said, after I had a baby, decided we needed to do something else. And I worked for some smaller companies first before I decided to go full-on consulting. And it was very interesting to see that these smaller companies needed that information, but they didn't have the resources to get it. And so they were flying blind sometimes. And I was able to come in and take some data and set up some reports and draw some analysis and just look at things and kind of tell a story. And so I did that for 2 different companies. And each time that I quit and left, they were like, but we need you to stay around. Like, can you stay on as a consultant, and run these reports? And so that's how I switched from kind of the full-time corporate into consulting, is because my employers told me, we need you. And I thought, well, if they need me, there are probably other people that could need me as well.
Girl, you have some experience, especially being a professional shopper in the San Francisco area. That's a great place to shop and so many different trends and things happening. So that's a really great background to get started in. Now, I know that a lot of entrepreneurs want to go into the world of retail and e-commerce, but there's so many different terms and moving parts, and they're unsure of how to get started. They're unsure of how to actually manage inventory and all the other things that go into retail. Can you share with us how a new entrepreneur who is just getting started can really understand and grasp the terms of retail so that they can be prepared and also know how to talk to tenured individuals who are in the retail space so that they can actually build a successful business?
Google is always your friend. But I also provide a retail math basics class on my website. So I've broken down all of the basic terms that you'll hear as you're talking to buyers, and they're spitting out the different acronyms, and so that you can kind of understand that retail language. So I define all of the terms, provide the formulas that go along with it, and give you examples so you can kind of see, like, what are the buyers talking about? How does this apply to my business? And you get that real world connection.
Yes, to Google. I think I have a PhD in Google when it comes to searching things about business. It's so important to have access to Google. Now, I know that having access and knowing how to take control of your numbers is so important. And I think that more entrepreneurs really need to be familiar with numbers so that they can win and succeed.
Absolutely. It's the details of your business. I mean, it's what's going on in a day-to-day basis, and it's your money. You want to know where your money is and how your money is working for you. So it's important to get into those details, even though it can be a little overwhelming because it is kind of learning a brand new language.
Yes, and I even went to school for retail management. So I wish that we spent more time learning more about numbers and really understanding how to make sure that we're profitable in our business and really knowing our numbers, because that helps to set you up for success. Now, Sarah, a lot of new entrepreneurs really struggle to understand the difference between revenue and profit. And I want to make sure that they truly understand this, because it can make a major difference in your business if you're not properly understanding the terms between the two. Can you share with some of our new entrepreneurs who might not be familiar with the term profit and revenue, and can you explain the difference between the two?
So revenue is your sales. It's the money that you're getting every time you sell an item. So if you sell that dress for $100, you just made $100 in revenue. Profit, on the other hand, is the money that you get to keep. It's the money that goes in the bank, in your pocket at the end of the day. So it's what's left over after you've paid all your wholesale costs, after you've paid all the bills for your store or your website, after you've paid all your employees. So profit's important because you need to be able to pay your bills. You need to have money left over so that you can invest in growth. You can give yourself a raise down the road so that you've got, a little bit of a cushion if you come with slow sales. So profit's your goal at the end of the day.
Yes, profit first. That is so important. And I wish more people would really take time to understand the importance of profit, because when you are profitable in your business, you are able to invest more in inventory, invest more into marketing, and so many other areas within your business. But if your company is not generating revenue and you're finding yourself falling short and you're unable to actually keep up with the demand of your business, it makes it hard for you to actually grow and eventually scale. So making sure you know those numbers and understanding the difference between revenue and profit is very, very important. So inventory is something that usually ties up a lot of e-commerce. Their capital, their cash flow is completely tied up in inventory. So what are some ways for entrepreneurs who are in the e-commerce space to be able to manage their inventory properly?
Absolutely. Inventory is your biggest investment. So you want to know, again, where your money's going and that it's going to make money for you in return. So inventory management is all about knowing what product your customer buys, when they're going to buy it, and how much they buy. So the first step is looking at all of your unit sales for all of the items you sell and summarizing your products across your categories, your sales channels, your item attributes, and your price points. You're trying to identify the trends and the common factors that are driving your business, as well as those that are underperforming or not working. So when you complete this analysis, it'll validate your best and your worst sellers with concrete numbers. A lot of the times you think you know what's selling because that item stuck out in your head, but sometimes when you see the numbers, it can be eye-opening and it can change your perspective and help you identify some new opportunities. You also want to look at when they're buying. What's the seasonality? Is your customer shopping reg price or is she just coming in for markdowns and promotions? And then you want to know how much you need to buy to support her sales. So this is where you need to make some decisions. What's the lifespan of the item? Is this a basic item that you're going to carry all year and constantly replenish? Is it a trend item that can sell out in a few weeks? Or is it seasonal, like a swimsuit or a heavy coat that pretty much has a hard stop that it's not going to sell anymore? You also want to look at your calendar, see if you have any promotional events coming up, what's your marketing, and see if you're going to, want extra inventory to support that. It sounds like a lot of information, but once you get it down on paper, you start to see like, okay, my t-shirts sell 5 items every day and I want to sell this one for 4 weeks. Okay, I need 20 items, I need to buy 20 units. And you start to get familiar with your categories and your seasonality, and it just becomes a little bit more second nature as you get down to the details.
Yes, these are such great tips for individuals who are in the retail e-commerce space and looking to really figure out a way to really tackle and manage their inventory. That is so important, and thank you so much for sharing that. Now, there are some buyers and some business owners who get really excited when they go to market or if they're buying from trade shows and things along those lines. And sometimes they might find items that they think are going to do extremely well in the season, but then they run into a situation to where they actually did not perform well with that product. So are there any tips or advice that you would give to someone who is stuck with a ton of items in inventory that are not performing well and looking to get it off the shelves?
Definitely having a buy plan and a markdown strategy. So markdowns shouldn't be something that you just do impulsively. There should be a strategy behind it. You should have a plan for each of your items, and you should know, if this is supposed to last for 2 months and I'm a month into it, I should be done with half of my inventory. If not, what can I do to help boost those sales? Can I do a promotion, something, that's not a permanent price drop, but could I do, buy one, get one, a certain percentage off, so that you can encourage multiples? Can you, do $5 off every, a certain category to help encourage that movement? So there should definitely be a strategy behind it. And then if those still aren't moving and it's the end of season and you do need to take markdowns, you should be looking at timing. So identifying those items like, all right, it's the end of summer, swimsuits need to go, but maybe those t-shirts can last a little bit longer. And then you also want to look at the pricing. You need to get to know your customer. Is she value oriented and she'll buy anything, even with a shallow markdown? Or is she really specific about what she wants? And, if she didn't buy it at full price, you need to make it pretty compelling at markdown. You don't want to give away margin, but you also don't want an item just sitting there taking up space if all it took was a few more dollars to make it move.
I love what you just said, Sarah, because it's so true. If you can do something that can help move your product forward and get it out the doors and off the shelves, that can make a major difference within your business so that it won't tie up your cash flow and eventually you're getting your products into your customers' hands. And I also love that you said it's so important for you to really understand and know your buyer. So if you know who you're serving, you're familiar with what they might like when in terms of sales or marketing or things along those lines. So it's really important for you to take time to understand who you are serving so that you can properly position yourself and get your products in front of them if for any reason it is not performing well and you have a different strategy and a backup plan. So I love that you said that. Do you recommend that new entrepreneurs who are going into the e-commerce space manage their inventory in the old school way, like Excel, or do you recommend that they use some sort of database or management system? What do you recommend for them to succeed when it comes to just getting started with inventory so that they can keep up with things properly and have it all in one place?
I recommend that in the beginning, they get started the old way. Keep it simple, have a way to track your inventory, but even if that's an Excel sheet, or if you put it in QuickBooks, your accounting system, technology can be really great if it's the right fit. If it's the wrong fit, it's extremely limiting. So I would say, work on it. Figure out, how often do I want to look at my sales? Do I need things daily or weekly? Do I want to get all the way down to the details? Am I happy with a dashboard? Do I want to see pretty charts and graphs, or do you just want the raw numbers? Like, work in it for a while, figure out what works for you, have that solid process, and then start looking at technology, because it definitely will make it more efficient and can introduce new ways of looking at things. But if it's not the way you look at things and what you want, then it's just extremely limiting, and it's frustrating to have to do a workaround.
Having a game plan of how you want to manage your inventory and be able to look at your reports and what details you would like to keep up with is so important, because it helps you to just stay on track and also hold your business accountable for what it is that you're purchasing. So having that game plan and truly understanding how you're going to manage it is very, very, very essential to running a business. Now, let's talk about forecasting. This is usually a foreign language to a lot of retail entrepreneurs and even just entrepreneurs in any industry. Not knowing how to really plan ahead and especially plan accurately can be really confusing and challenging when it comes to the world of forecasting. So is there any advice or tips that you can share with us entrepreneurs on how to properly forecast within our business?
So forecasting is all about knowing your numbers. Business is just a numbers game. And if you know what yours are, then you can kind of help predict where your business is going to go or the steps that you need to take to get there. For retail businesses, you really need to know your traffic. How many people are you getting to your store or your site each day? And then out of that, what's your conversion? How many of those customers who come in are actually buying? And then when they buy, how much are they spending? What's their dollars per transaction? Once you know that, you can kind of help get an idea for what it's going to take to grow your business and get that top line growth. If you're getting 100 customers a day and they're each spending $50, like what it takes if you want to make $10,000. What does that growth look like? So it helps give you kind of a format and to know those numbers. So the other thing that I like is once you've gotten familiar with the forecasting and you're tracking, what your traffic is and your conversion and what your dollars are and what those sales are, you can get even more specific by working with a retail calendar. So a retail calendar is something that it's different from your regular calendar. A retail calendar is also called a 4-5-4 calendar because it splits your months up into the first month is always 4 weeks, the second month is 5 weeks, and then it goes back to 4 weeks. So it allows you to compare year over year and have the same number of days and weeks in a month. Because with months shifting around, March this year might have an extra day, an extra weekend day, and your weekend days might be busier, so they drive more sales. If the next year doesn't have that, you'll look at March and think, oh, I slowed down, like what went wrong? But nothing went wrong. You were just missing a Saturday, which could be huge in your sales. So the retailer calendar helps you compare comparable time periods. And it also gives you a way to track all of your promotions, all of your marketing, your inventory flows. So you know what was going on in your business. So when you go plan the next year, you have that history. You can look at it, you compare month after month, week after week, and really get a feel for how your business is performing.
This is excellent, Sarah. Now, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur who's looking to go into the e-commerce or retail space? What advice would you provide to them?
I would say practice. Take a class, my class, somebody else's class, get your pen, your paper, and your calculator out, and just start becoming familiar with the numbers. Make up a plan, make up some units, make up some dollars, and see what those get you. Get a line sheet from, one of your brands, and they'll have the cost on there, and see what different margins you need to get different sales prices. And I would say just practice and get comfortable and figure out, if you have cost and sales price and units, you can figure out almost any retail equation. They all work together. But just, work at it, Google it, practice it, ask somebody for help, just understand what you're going to be doing.
I am so impressed by your retail knowledge and wisdom, and I absolutely love how you are helping retail businesses to really understand how they can be profitable, understand their numbers, and also be able to manage their inventory on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom with us. I would love for our listeners to be able to stay connected with you, Sarah. So can you share with us about your pricing calculator and your programs, and also how our listeners can be able to work with you if they are in the retail space and looking to gain help and consulting within that area?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, which is sarahgutierrezconsulting.com. I have blog posts on there. I have my classes available. I'm also on Instagram at Sarah Gutierrez Consulting, and I post different formulas and situations and tips and tricks for retail entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you again, Sarah. I am so grateful for having you on today, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Loved chatting about this with you.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.